Nest Podcast, your weekly home for sports news, video game reviews, and hot takes with your hosts, Brandon, Zach, and Justin. Enjoy the show.
What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Nest Podcast. This is episode number 86, the Hines Ward episode, presented by Sportszilla. I'm your host, Brandon, and joining me tonight is Zach. Zach, what's up, my man? It's been a while since it's just been the two of us.
It sure has. The old school listeners will remember the duo days.
Yeah, but before Justin was a full-time co-host, he would come on occasionally, but Zach and I did it just the two of us for a little over a year before adding Justin in full-time. So good to be back to the old school ways for the night, at least. Justin may pop in later if he's able to. He's busy. Apparently the state of Tennessee is about to go under lockdown and everybody's, going out to Walmart and socializing one last time before they go home. So
got to get that toilet paper.
Got to make sure that they get that. So see, we got somebody asking if we accept call-ins. Zach, are we equipped to do that?
As far as I remember, you won't be able to hear them. Is that what happened last time?
I think you're right. I think they couldn't hear me.
Okay.
So I don't know.
I can relay if you want, or we can just have him leave a message. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, try it. Give it a try. If we can take it live, then go for it. There's the number. Okay. I put it on the screen for you. Whatever. So what's been going on, man? State of Tennessee's going under lockdown, so that's why Justin's not going to be able to make it on. He's frantically going out trying to get some stuff and get his family prepared. So it is what it is.
Sucks.
Anyway, we were talking before we came on. So say what?
Daniel was just wondering. It's not like he wanted to call in. So yes.
Okay, cool. Very well. Moving on. Hey, trying to make this show lively, interactive. It's just the two of us, so why not? Why not try to do a few different things? If people want to call in, fuck it, let them call in.
Yep.
Let's get right into some that major league talk that we were talking about, I guess. The players, they came to an agreement with the league. They've got a few new rule changes and things like that they've agreed upon. And basically the effect of the coronavirus. They still don't have a start date to the league, which that sucks. But they did agree that both sides want to have baseball this year. So as baseball fans, it would be great to see if they actually.
Here we go. Getting a call. Hey, what's up?
Daniel.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press.
Ooh. Hey, what's up?
Hey.
What's going on, man?
This is Daniel. I'm a member on Sportszilla.
You sure are.
What's up, Daniel? How's it going?
Okay. What I wanted to talk about was how crazy is it for the fifth time we're not going to get Tony and Khabib, and are they going to make a 30 for 30 on this one day?
If not, they better. This fight is almost like we're not meant to watch it.
I don't get it. I don't understand it. I mean, I get it why they're doing it this time, but this is the most cursed fight I've ever seen in my life. Yep. And also, would you pay for a pay-per-view if that fight's scrapped, but they just load it with Woodley versus Covington, and you maybe could get Jorge in there? Like, would you still pay full price for that pay-per-view?
I mean, I think people would, but I don't think that's possible this late of notice.
So you're thinking that it's going to just not happen at all?
Either Gaethje is going to accept to fight Tony, or it's not going to happen at all.
I think one of the athletic commissions, they're just all going to shut that
shit down. These people, throwing their hat in the ring, but just from the the projection of this thing, it's just been roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. And when I seen the news today that, it's pretty much scrapped because Khabib can't leave Russia, and they offered Gaethje to Tony, I'd watch that fight, but it's just like the wind is out of my sails right now, because I wanted this fight more than any fight I've ever wanted in my life.
Yep.
And now, for the fifth time, it's insane.
Yep, I 100% agree. This was the fight of all fights, and we've had to wait years now, and yet again, it's called off because of something.
Will we ever get it? The clock is ticking on Khabib. He says he only wants a couple more fights, and Tony's age is getting up in there, and you can only win for so long, So
yeah, I think they have.
I think they did.
Yeah, I think they have no choice but to try it again. And put these guys in a goddamn bubble until the fight is literally happening at the moment, and then release them from their bubble. But I don't know.
That's to do. But anyway, thanks for accepting my call. I just wanted to chat with you a little bit on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for calling, man.
All right, no problem.
All right, you have a good one.
Yeah, that sucks. He couldn't hear me at all, but that's a cool little feature. That's the first ever live call-in on the show that I think that I remember, at least. We've played voicemails before, but never had a live call-in.
Justin called once, I think.
Oh, that's right. He did. We tried it out that one time.
Yeah. I don't know why they can't hear you. There must be no input from the other stuff.
I wonder if you ran the stream, if it would work. You. Yeah, we might try that some other time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But anyway, you were about to tell us about the MLB.
No, now that we're talking Tony and Khabib, I want to throw my 2 cents in there too. Yeah, okay. because you guys were bringing up some good points, and Daniel was definitely bringing up some points that I agree with. This fight is seemingly cursed, but I think we have to see it. It's Ali Frazier. Yeah. Imagine that fight never happening. That's historic. That goes way back. This is going to be that one when we finally get to see it. Like you said, wrap everybody in a protective bubble and keep them millions of miles away from everybody else, because those guys have to be good and they have to be able to fight as soon as we can get it. I think the UFC is fucking playing with fire if they throw people like Gaethje in there, because if Tony loses for some weird reason, then that fight loses all of the money value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right now, it's at a fever pitch. You fuck it up by risking it, by gambling it, just to get a card out. That's greedy on Dana White's part. Everybody else is canceled. Why can't you?
Yeah. And I get it. They're trying to make money because they're not making much money. And, just the same as the rest of the sports world. But like you said, if Gaethje is on his game or something and just catches him somehow, the Khabib fight is off, and now Gaethje's the number 2 guy, the number 1 contender.
And then boom, that fight may never happen, because I forget which one of you said it, but the clock is running out.
Mm-hmm.
Khabib's not going to fight forever.
No, I think he said he wants to do 1 or 2 more, and he's done. Yeah. He's been fighting for fucking ever, and he's made money. He's beaten Conor. What the fuck else does he have to do?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing, man.
Yeah. It sucks to be a fight fan and yet again have this discussion of Khabib and Tony aren't going to fight because of some bullshit. It's been 5 years since the first time they were supposed to fight, and I don't remember who fucked up first, but I know a few times Khabib couldn't make weight or whatever happened, and Tony got hurt that one time.
Yeah, I forget what all it was, but I know at one point one guy had a rib injury, then Tony had his knee injury, and it was back and forth, the guys pulling out of these fights. And then this happens, and it's like we finally had it set up, and then You know, there were rumors flying around last week that it was going to be hosted here in Jacksonville. And I was like, hey, Wallow, how are we going to sneak into this shit? And, you know, speaking of Wallow, they came on earlier today and did an emergency podcast talking about how upset they were that the fight isn't happening. That's the ripple effect of what's going on, because this, man, it sucks. It sucks bad. Yep. This is the one fight that we're all like, we just have to have it. You proposed putting it on a boat, putting it in the middle of an ocean and letting them duke it out there. But then Vladimir Putin had to put a stop to that.
And I guess that's the one thing we didn't really put into consideration, was that people, or countries rather, could close their borders, and that would just completely shut everything down.
Right. Yeah, it's because I thought, oh, if they won't let them leave Russia or whatever, just hop in your car, drive across the border, fly out of another country. No big deal, right? But no, apparently you can't even do that shit.
Yep. You'll catch a 7.62 round in the back of your head.
Yeah, no one wants that.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to fuck with the Russian government on that, especially because Khabib is famous, and I'm sure he's very famous over there in Eastern Europe. So there's no way he pops up in Florida somehow. Somebody's going to know about it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I guess I wasn't thinking about that. Just me as a selfish fight fan, I wanted to see it. And another guy that I enjoy watching in the cage, but now I'm afraid that I'm not going to get to watch fight for a long time, is John Jones. You know, he's a guy that you and I have both raved about as being one of the greatest out there. And we've had to recently write him off and be like, yeah, we're done with him though. Like, and this definitely is the final straw if it hasn't been there already, because John Jones just cannot keep his shit together.
Yeah, it's sad at this point.
We're at a point where government officials have ordered people to stay home, not to go out and do shit. And here we have this guy out there at 1:30 in the morning with a gun shooting fucking pistol rounds in the sky. Come on, my man.
No, there's no excuse. There's no excuse anymore of it's picograms, it's this, it's that. He is red-handed as you can be right now, and there's literally no excuse to be made here. You are completely incapable of making the right decision. It's apparent.
It's CTE in action. I think he's been bashed in the head one too many times, and it's showing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Antonio.
Right. Yeah.
Antonio Brown. It's the same thing. Just Antonio Brown got hit in the head way too many times.
Yeah, that's a valid point. I mean, I don't even know what to say anymore. I can't just sit there and try to make an excuse as to why you should watch John Jones or why you should cheer for John Jones. The man in the octagon is fucking unstoppable. The man outside of the octagon is, I mean, completely, utterly just a disgrace. He goes, what, 2 or 3 years? Yeah, I see it. He goes 2 or 3 years without incident, maybe, possibly. Well, actually, not even that long, because the whole picogram bullshit was last year sometime.
Yep. Yeah, he's been a good boy for like what, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months.
It's crazy.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's sad. I wonder what the punishment's going to be.
I think it has to be jail time. I think it's this is a felony charge in my opinion. I don't know the law of New Mexico or Utah.
New Mexico. Yeah, he lives in Albuquerque.
I don't know the law in New Mexico. I'm sure you know it a lot better than I would, but I've got to say that.
I mean, he clearly has a DUI.
Yeah.
And he clearly, whatever the law may be, fired a firearm unlawfully or whatever.
Right.
And I'm sure having a firearm while driving drunk is a whole nother thing.
Right.
There's several charges here for sure.
I think there's definitely jail time coming, and I'm surprised the UFC hasn't caught wind of what the potential that they're looking at is and already stripped him. But Daniel commenting on here said that it's partially privilege. He brings up a good point. John Jones is a big time moneymaker.
Sure.
That comes with a certain privilege. You get out of a lot of things if you have money, and Dana White excuses a lot of things if you bring him a lot of money.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, privilege in just his everyday life too. I mean, he's been on top of the world since he won the light heavyweight championship, and he's been unstoppable ever since, except beating his own demons. So he thinks he's untouchable, and that's why he goes out and parties and does whatever and expects no consequences. And he eventually, time and time again, gets caught up in something.
Like when you're 21 and you feel like you're invincible, that you could take on the world. You can go out drinking till 3:00 in the morning, hit the drive through on your way home and still make it all right. And then the next day you wake up and feel just fine. That's John Jones now, as what's supposed to be an adult. He's now in his 30s. He's a father, and he's still acting like the 21-year-old version of ourselves that can go out and party all night. That's not like, at a certain point you just have to move on from that. And him sitting there with a half a gallon of fucking tequila or whatever, that shows me that man is partying.
Yeah. He's got 4 daughters at home. How do you look in the mirror and say, I'm the man that drives drunk and shoots a gun in the air when I've got 4 daughters sleeping at home who rely on me to bring home the money that pay the bills? I think he definitely has some sort of, whatever you want to call it, whatever it comes from, he's got some sort of mental issue. And it's showing itself in the form of whatever you want to call this. I don't know if he's an alcoholic or an addicted to something or what, but he doesn't stop partying. And I think he's got some sort of serious issue that needs treatment. And if he knows what's good for him after jail, he needs to check into a rehab, because clearly this is a big problem and there's no stopping, because he's said time and time again, I've learned in this and that and the other, and cleaning it up, but it never happens.
But if and when he does come back to the UFC, I'm a watch.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean,
I'm gonna watch the man fight.
Yeah,
because I like watching John Jones fight.
Yeah, you can't deny his talent in the ring, but that does not equate to a good person outside of it. So
absolutely,
it sucks.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll strip him, or do you think they'll wait for the authorities to bring charges or something like that?
At this point, it looks like they're waiting until something is announced in way of what he's being charged with or whatever, and then it will probably come out. Dana, who knows? Maybe he's going to wait to see if it sticks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they don't want to lose another cash cow, because they need them, obviously, and he's a huge draw for people. And if he's on some other suspension, then that's one more guy that's not making money for him. So I kind of expect that too. I think they're gonna not say shit, not bring down anything until he gets some sort of conviction, and maybe, just maybe, to kind of calm the storm that is the light heavyweight division, because they are going to start clamoring for, hey, John Jones doesn't need the belt and this, that, and the other. They may do an interim, but I think
of course they will.
Yeah, that's as far as they'll go until John, is convicted or whatever.
Got to have those pay-per-views every month. Got to make sure that there's a belt up for grabs every month. Got to make sure that we keep bringing in that money, even if it's a bullshit championship.
Yep.
That's the business model.
Yep.
Oh, and by the way, make sure you subscribe to ESPN Plus on top of it all.
Yeah, right.
It sucks, dude. It sucks. But that's how they get you.
Yep. That's how they made it to the dance.
I know, man. It's they dangle a product that you like in front of you, and then it's like, well, shit, I'll sign up.
Yep. Oh, it's $7. All right.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
whatever.
It comes with Disney Plus, even better. Great.
Oh, sweet.
And then I have to have ESPN Plus to completely just buy pay-per-views. I can't buy pay-per-view from whatever other source that oh, well, shit. And then I have to have it.
Yep.
There you go. There's your numbers.
Yep. They put you in a Kimura and they twist your hand up your asshole all the way out your mouth so that you can hand yourself your money every fucking month. Just
Right.
throw it at them.
And you know what sucks? I was very excited for some really good free cards now that it was on ESPN, because I was thinking they've got this huge audience that is ESPN. So they're going to pump out good free cards to the people that don't really know much about the sport, wouldn't necessarily buy a pay-per-view on their own, but oh, hey, it's a Saturday night. I've got nothing to do. There's a free card on ESPN.
Those masses. Yep.
Let me tune in. But the free cards have been dog shit.
Yep. They put 4 or 5 up and coming guys on a card and 1 or 2 decently known fighters. That's about it.
Yep.
You get a couple good fights, but it's nobody that anybody is clamoring to see. So the diehard fans that watch every event, they see it and they appreciate it, but the casuals don't give a fuck. It's not bringing in new fans.
Yep. And I thought that was the whole point of going ESPN. You now have immediate access to any and all of the casuals.
Yep.
And they're just not, in my opinion, they're not doing anything to bring those people in.
And then they put Stephen A out there to fucking start commentating it.
Right.
And then he's calling out people like Joe Rogan like he knows more. Man, get out of here.
Yeah, that was a great move. I don't know. It sucks. It's like the exact opposite happened of what I at least thought was going to happen. They clamped down on everything and said, you have to have our subscription to even watch our content. And I thought it would open it up. It would be better because it's on ESPN, because they have huge access, but they shut it all down and put paywalls behind everything.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to bite them in the
sport.
Yeah, I think it's going to bite them in the ass. This whole pay thing is just driving people to illegally stream it 100%. It's way too easy to watch something illegally nowadays than it is to buy a subscription, yet another subscription on top of the 5, 6, 7 other subscriptions that you already have. I'm just going to find a link and watch this shit.
Yeah, absolutely. It happens all the time. Oh, well, not my problem.
Yeah.
You know, Roger Goodell is one of those guys that can attract heat no matter what he does or what he says. And he sent out a memo to the owners that is drawing some ire. He's saying that the NFL is going to push forward and still have their draft starting on April 23rd. And he's prepared to do it all by tele and video conference and basically calling the players to and from their homes and stuff like that to let them know that they've been drafted. And I guess the networks aren't so excited about that because it's not exactly exciting content for TV. And they can't really have their video crews out at all these guys' houses and shit like that. So revenue from TV they're worried about. And I guess a lot of the owners don't like the fact that they won't be able to be there to have their players celebrate and shake their hands and have the good photo op and all that shit. So I don't know. I'm kind of like, why not have it? Why not use the technology that we have and move forward, make it a historic draft, make it something that people are going to fucking remember.
Yep. Instead of bitching about it, flip the coin and say, this is almost unprecedented territory. We can have an all digital draft. And I think they should blast it out everywhere. They should have Facebook lives. They should have YouTube lives, make it available everywhere and do multi-screen stuff. So where you can see the player that's waiting to get his number called, you can have maybe 2 or 3 players that are potential picks for that upcoming pick.
Yeah.
So you can see their immediate reaction as to what's coming up instead of trying to bitch about it.
It immediately gives these guys a brand. It immediately gives recognition to the fan base. Like, oh shit, he was stoked to come to Philadelphia. Or, oh man, did you see how he looked at his mom whenever he got drafted to the Bills?
Yep.
You know,
And that's exactly what we talked about last year when Dwayne Haskins had this fucking smug look on his face when he got drafted late by the Redskins. We all immediately started talking about, what the hell does this guy think he is? And they could immediately capitalize on that kind of thing, because you could have the guy who thinks he's the man not get picked and have all those reactions.
I love it. It makes these guys instantly fan recognizable, makes stars out of these guys early on, and gives them the opportunity to be someone that a fan base can really get to know and love, especially if they're a good guy on top of it. Like a lot of these guys coming out of college they can turn into really outstanding people for the communities and stuff like that. Of course, I've got to talk about my boy Drew Brees. He and his wife Brittany, out of their own pockets, decided to just drop $5 million to help out the people there in New Orleans. So that's awesome that happened there. From what I understand, New Orleans is hit pretty bad by all of this.
Yeah,
and
I believe it.
It's cool that he was doing that and trying to help out the community. And he's done that before. I don't know exactly when, but I know Breeze has dipped into his pockets to help out the city when other things have happened. So
absolutely.
Fucking A. Justin said he's his enemy, but a good dude. Must be a fan of the NFC South there. Let's see. But yeah, I was happy to see that. And, NFL announced that $35 million in relief funds will come from each team to the local communities and stuff like that. Awesome. So, that's chipped in from the league, the Players Association, the team, the owners, and players themselves all chipping in. So that's pretty cool that, those millionaires are trying to take care of the areas where their teams are. The problem is that's not impacting a lot of the people in small towns that lose their job because they're a mom and pop. That's goes into what we were talking about before we came online. But
yeah. I mean, and like we said, that's the biggest thing that is this whole deal is going to affect not only the people that obviously get the disease and potentially die from it, but then all the small businesses that have lost so much revenue from not being able to be open or losing the majority of their the people that, go to their restaurant or bar, or small town little shop or whatever it might be.
So it's definitely damaging things. Moving into actual football talk and not virus talk. What did you make of the Panthers just outright cutting Cam Newton?
Well, I think their hand was a little bit forced because no team could do a physical on Cam, thus meaning you couldn't do a trade, because obviously they would have rather have traded him and get something for him than to just cut him. But they were willing to make that sacrifice and cut him outright so that they wouldn't have to deal with him this upcoming season. And I get it. I mean, in a perfect scenario, you'd have 100% traded him for something noteworthy, or at least a few draft picks, but they couldn't do it. So they went with lesser of two evils and just got rid of him.
Where do you think he signs?
Man, that's a good question. It seems like the Bengals are going to draft Joe Burrow and potentially re-sign Andy Dalton to maybe a 1-year deal or something, just to kind of show him the ropes or just guide the ship for that year as Joe Burrow gets used to the system.
Which makes sense.
Yeah,
it
that
makes
totally
sense if you're the Bengals.
Yeah, totally makes sense to me. Justin says Chargers. I could 100% see that. I kind of think if the Colts weren't so ambitious and went out and got Phillip Rivers, they should have waited for Cam. Clearly, no one really knew what the Cam situation was, so they couldn't just play that card or whatever. But I think the Colts would have been a good fit for him. They're a team that clearly needs a good quarterback, and that would have been a fresh new set of legs for them. They've had a pocket passer for the last 25, 30 years. So that'd be an interesting fit for the Colts. But I would agree with Justin that the Chargers are probably the most likely home for him.
even though the Chargers have announced that Tyrod Taylor was their guy, that would kind of be a slight to him immediately after making
for
that
sure.
announcement.
And speaking of Tyrod, he's almost like a shittier version of Teddy Bridgewater. He's a guy who can get it done. Never really been in a starter position, but he's a great secondary quarterback. And just for whatever reason, it never really worked out for him, which sucks.
Yeah, you're right. He's been on some shit teams and had some shit luck, and now hopefully he keeps that job out in LA land, and he's able to at least do something with the team that Phillip Rivers left. What else is going on in the NFL? Anything?
Just if you want to talk about Cam for a second more, did you see the little video he put up, basically bitching about the Panthers cutting him and saying that they gave up on me and this and that and the other? I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that Cam caught the injury bug a little bit, not as bad as some players, but he's been mediocre ever since their Super Bowl year. I mean, he just doesn't have the same effect on the field. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's getting older and he can't run it like he used to. I don't know, but he's not the Cam that used to be a 100% superstar of that team.
I think the foot injury was a big deal to Cam. He was not able to really utilize his running game as much as he previously had. And with the shoulder surgeries and all that stuff, it just kept him out for extended periods of time. It looks like from the videos that he's posting when he's working out and all that, he's in shape. He looks like he's moving around. You see his agility drills. His feet look fine. That's worth a gamble. If you're an NFL front office, that's a former MVP of the league that you could have for maybe cheap. Maybe you could get him on a 1 year, a 2 year deal for next to nothing. Cheaper than Nick Foles is costing fucking Chicago.
Yeah.
I bet they wish in hindsight they would have waited about fucking 5 minutes before pulling the trigger on accepting that bullshit deal for Foles. But
isn't that wild? I mean, yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think he's more than capable of getting on a new team and making something happen. I don't know if he's going to take a team to the Super Bowl. I don't think you can just 100% rely on him. Obviously, you can't really do that with anybody. But for a lot of these teams that don't have shit at the quarterback position, he's not a bad option. And like you said, if you can just do a 1 year deal for whatever the dollar amount will be, that's almost a win-win situation, because if he sucks that 1 year, then he's gone. And if he plays great, sign him again and keep going with it.
I see a scenario where Cam Newton ends up in Jacksonville, because think about how the Jags were successful last season was when Gardner Minshew could come in there and scramble around and run for a few yards and pass for a few yards. That's Cam Newton's style.
Mm-hmm.
Scramble around. He'll run if he needs to. He'll get that, but he can stand there, and he's a former NFL MVP. Why wouldn't the Jags take a shot at him? They've offloaded a shit ton from their defense. They have tons of money to spend, and they don't have anything right now on the defensive side. Why not use this to build an offense and build around Cam Newton?
Yeah, that's not a bad thing, because Gardner Minshew is only going to be in his second year. It's not like it's either take him now or lose him forever. He's still theirs. And if it does work out for Cam, then he's trade bait. So yeah, I mean, I could see that too. There's several teams out there that could definitely pick him up. It'll be very interesting to see where he lands.
Speaking of quarterbacks on the move, have you heard the rumblings out of Houston that Deshaun Watson's not very happy?
Yeah, I have heard. I think I heard on Colin Cowherd's show that ever since the trades that Houston made, he has not been happy at all. They basically took his fucking number one wide receiver away from him and said, deal with it.
They've taken pretty much all of his weapons away from him, and they're just like, yeah, now still you go win. I don't blame him for being upset and wanting out.
Yeah. I mean, they basically, like you said, took everything away from him, and they haven't made any moves to replace those holes that they have created, because DeAndre Hopkins is a gigantic hole there. I mean, if he doesn't ask for a trade, he should.
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you think that he actually gets dealt before the season starts?
I don't think so. I think he's the only thing that they have left other than JJ Watt that makes them worth a fuck.
I believe he's a free agent at the end of this season. So he would be able to go wherever he wanted to at the end. So if that's correct, then the opportunity would be there to try to trade and get a good contract or a good fucking draft picks in return or whatever.
Yeah, and that's not a bad idea for him too. Just wait till free agency, and then it's in your hands instead of
if Bill O'Brien, I think is his name, the coach and GM of the Houston Texans, if he's trying to just completely rebuild, then I think they only got like a 4th round pick or whatever for D-Hop.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you would be smart enough to get at least a 1st round for Deshaun.
Fuck.
Come on, at least stock up on another first couple seconds.
I don't understand the move to try to rebuild. They've got a good offense,
and you had a stellar defense. JJ Watt and Clowney. They let him go. Like, this team is just falling apart, man. I said it before, I'll say it again. Like, the Houston Texans are punishing the city of Houston for the transgressions that the Houston Astros committed.
Yeah.
Punishing them for their sins.
Any other way you mock it up, it doesn't make sense. It's not like they don't have cap space. It's not like they just won a Super Bowl and now that they have to do something. It's not like their star player just retired. They're all relatively young guys.
Is it an ego thing?
I really don't know. I'd love to hear any sort of reasoning, because it doesn't seem like there is one. Because with D-Hop, they got a fucking gumball for him. If you're making big trades, I would expect you to get big things in return.
Yep. I agree.
Shitty organization.
Yeah. There's no way to get around it unless they somehow pull out a miracle and win the Super Bowl within the next 2 to 3 years. Then yeah, that's all we can sit here and say is shitty organization, because they let their best chance walk away.
Yep.
For, like you said, peanuts.
Nothing. You said, a 4th round draft pick.
They didn't even get the peanut guy with it. They just got the peanuts.
Yeah, they're not even salted. They're just plain.
Fuck.
For what I would say a top 3 wide receiver in the league, I would expect to get lots of shit for that.
See, a shitty organization, the Detroit Lions. That's just they're an unfortunate franchise, and I guess they realized that Matt Patricia isn't the second coming of Bill Belichick, but
yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lions fans. It's
right.
been a shitty run for you guys.
Yeah, that was a gamble. For sure.
It always is. It always is whenever you just hire the next protege in line or whatever, because you never know what you're going to get. You never know how much Bill's influence was on the defense, which I'm going to go ahead and say quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Bill's offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniel, is a stellar coach because he runs an offense. Bill's a defensive minded coach that's in a head coach position.
Yep.
Matt Patricia was just a benefactor.
Yep, I completely agree. I think Bill is almost like a GM / head coach. He makes very good decisions.
He's the de facto GM of the team. If you look on the team's front office page or whatever, that's how he's listed: head coach and de facto GM.
Yeah, he makes very good decisions as to what players to keep, who to let go, who to draft, who has very good potential that no one's really looking at, and he does that kind of thing. Like you said, he has a background in defense, so he has enough knowledge to put together certain things and finds a guy who can run his offense.
Yep, and that's why I think the Patriots will be just fine post Tom Brady. I think they'll be maybe not as good for a few years because they are in a rebuild. They lost not just Tom Brady, but they lost a lot of other people to free agency. So it's going to be a slight rebuild in New England. We'll see how they draft. We got quite a few draft picks this season. So Bill's known for drafting well and for getting those, like you said, those good guys that are fringe players everywhere else. And they come to Bill, they buy into the Patriot way, and they turn into stars. Look at Julian Edelman.
Yep.
That's a kid that was a quarterback at Kent State, and now he's a Super Bowl MVP wide receiver in the NFL and has gone on to have one of the best postseason careers for a wide receiver in league history.
Yep. They do the same thing with their running backs. They get running backs that you've never heard of, that no one ever would think would be good, and they fill their position. They're not going to go out there and get the most rushing yards in the whole league, but they're going to do as much as they possibly can under what was Tom Brady's, pass heavy offense. So he's very interesting in the things that he does, that he picks people that can specifically fill a role, which is very interesting.
Yep. And he's one of the best, if not the best, at doing that. And that's why a lot of people are saying like, oh, the Patriots are going to tank for Trevor and all that stuff. That'll never work in New England, because Bill Belichick doesn't know how to tank. He doesn't know how to just lose on purpose. He's going to go out there and he's going to field a winning football team. It's not going to be the stars. It's going to be Jarrett Stidham, because the Patriots can't afford to go out and sign somebody like Cam Newton. There's just not enough in the cap. It's going to be Jarrett Stidham. He's going to roll with him. He's going to probably win 8-9 games this year, which means the Patriots are going to lose about 8 or 9 games this year. In the AFC, there's a chance they could still win the wild card, still get into a playoff spot. So the sky is not falling. It's just It's just a little cloudy.
Yep. It's a changing of the guard.
Absolutely. I have heard some rumblings that Deshaun, since he's wanting out so badly and possibly is going to be free agent soon, he is, well, at least at one point, the Vegas favorite to be the heir apparent up in New England and be the starting quarterback by 2021.
Very interesting.
I'm sure that would piss a lot of people out there off to see that guy go to Bill Belichick, but whatever, it could happen. So I guess April 23rd, they're going to roll with their draft. That's something that we'll be keeping an eye on. I know that's something that Justin will definitely be keeping an eye on as well, and he'll be able to fill us in with a lot of those draft picks. But before we got our call, we were talking a little bit about baseball, and I want to go ahead and finish up the show talking about our baseball. And basically the NFL, or not the NFL, the Major League Baseball and the Players Association sat down and they were like, look, we all want to play this year. Let's do whatever we can to make it happen. The players have accepted a prorated charge on their contracts or whatever, prorated salaries, which is a no-brainer. You play half a season, you get paid half a season. If they don't play at all, they still get, I think, 4 or 5% of their salary. So it's not like they're going to get like just completely no pay. They're going to get paid, but that obviously screws over the younger guys that aren't getting really paid shit.
Yep.
5% of 500,000 is a lot less than 5% of 35 million.
Sure.
So, it is what it is.
Yep.
You are still getting paid and you're still going to be able to survive. I'm sure you have your 500,000 from previous season just sitting there that you're still living off too. So hopefully they'll all be okay. And, it does screw over kind of the minor leaguers and the guys that are coming up for that would be in this upcoming draft. They're not getting to play out their senior, junior, whatever seasons in college ball right now. They're not going to get to have a baseball combine. Sucks for them.
Yep, sure does.
I hope what you did in the first half of your season was good enough to impress somebody.
Yeah. I hope you have a good highlight reel that you can post on YouTube or something.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what happens because I think Major League Baseball's draft is still scheduled for June. I don't think they've canceled it yet. I did see that they canceled the Cardinal series over in England.
Yeah, that was a shame.
So I guess that's already something that we were looking forward to that isn't going to happen, even if they started at the earliest, which they're saying now is, I think, Memorial Day weekend. And that keeps getting slid further and further to the right. But in the agreement, they did say, to your point, you brought it up a few weeks ago, that they might be willing to extend the season, into November and possibly December if necessary. They agreed that they would utilize neutral sites that are domed facilities and stuff like that. But wow, that would definitely change the outcome on a lot of things, that not playing in your home ballpark is putting you at kind of a disadvantage.
Especially if you're a team like the Yankees or something where it's easier for you to score in your home park.
Right.
And now you got some other fucking place.
Or the Astros, who are notorious for having a much better hitting percentage and hitting record when they're at home as opposed to being away for some reason or another.
I wonder if it'll kind of even the playing field a little bit.
A lot of people are saying that, Zach. A lot of people are thinking like, well, that puts everybody at the same disadvantage, which I agree with. But God, like there's so few advantages in the sport of baseball, and having your home park is one of them. Having the home crowd. If you're, obviously we're talking about a time where these games might also be played without a crowd at all. So it's bizarro world that we're living in right now. But if we can get some baseball, I would be more than happy to sit at home and watch baseball on my TV.
Yeah, 100%. I was thinking this past Sunday, we should be watching Sunday Night Baseball. And I frankly don't give a shit who the team was supposed to be. I just want to fucking watch it.
Wouldn't it be nice? One of the last things that I want to talk about that was brought up in that Players Association agreement is that they are prepared to expand the playoffs at least for this year to a 14 team playoffs, I guess, to give more teams a chance in a shortened season, since normally it takes the full 162 to really find out who's the best of the best. Because remember, a lot of these divisions, like the NL Central, always comes down to the wire. The NL West for several years was coming down to the wire. I think there was a 1-game playoff before the end of the season in the NL Central, like 2 years ago. So
sometimes it takes 163 games.
Sometimes it does, man. And that's why they're thinking about expanding it to 14 teams, letting some more freaking teams get in there.
Yeah, not a bad idea, especially with this weird season that they're going to have. I think a lot of teams are going to need that little extra boost because they're going to be doing a lot of double headers, I'm sure. And it's going to be tough because everyone was ramped up during spring training to start the season off. That all got halted. They're going to be sitting at home for a month, 2 months, whatever it might be. Then they're going to have to bring it all back up. And it's going to be a very strange season. I think we said it before, but I think you're going to see some very obscure team sneak in and potentially get a World Series win.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think we'll actually see any baseball this year, or in your honest feelings, do you think it'll get canceled?
No, I think we're definitely going to see some baseball. I mean, if they're willing to extend the season out to November and possibly December and just play in neutral, warm stadiums, then I don't see any reason unless the coronavirus somehow gets so bad that we still can't play by the time June rolls around or something like that. Then maybe not, but I think eventually we're going to get baseball this year.
Man, I hope you're right. I definitely do, because we are now on day 5 without baseball officially. The season was supposed to start 5 days ago. I know Brandon was commenting along and said that he should still be hammered from day drinking at Tigers home opener. I feel like I missed out on a rite of passage. My opening day is something that I always look forward to. Ever since I was a kid, I remember opening day being so exciting. And what's your best opening day memory, Zach?
This last past season, it was the first season where I remember being very excited for it. Couldn't wait for the season to start, and I watched a lot of baseball that summer, and it turned out to be a great year. Cardinals made it to the NLCS and lost to the World Series champions. I mean, the only thing you could do better than that was win the fucking World Series.
Win it all.
So yeah, I would say that's my favorite memory for sure.
That's cool. Mine is the year before, 2018. I took my son Grayson to his first ever baseball game on opening day. And of course, 2018, the Red Sox went on to win the World Series, but they lost opening friggin' day when we were in attendance. So
you can't have it all.
One of my favorite opening day memories right there. But I've kind of been in a state of mourning. I've been sad that baseball is not around. So for my sake and for the sake of my personal feelings and enjoyment, I hope it comes back very soon. I miss it.
Yep. Yeah, me too. It sucks. When everything first kicked off and they canceled all the sports and everything, I was kind of like, yeah, it's whatever. You've got other shit to do. But now that we're in a little bit farther, you really start to miss it. Because I mean, the ritual during baseball season is if your team plays earlier in the day, you might watch like a replay or something like that. But if your team is playing, this evening or whatever, turn on the game at the end of your day or whatever, and that's your evening is watching baseball. And that's what I did last year, and I looked forward to it. But now you really feel it. Oh shit, there's no baseball to watch.
Yeah,
and that's what I would be doing right now.
I mean, I've watched the Tiger King because I had nothing else to watch. I mean, it's funny. Don't get me wrong. I laughed my ass off at parts of it, and then realized how fucked up some people can be at other parts of it. But I watched it, and I'm probably going to watch something else that's stupid because I don't have baseball to watch. Did you ever get around to watching Tiger King, Zach? We kind of gave you homework last episode.
Yeah, I did. I finished the last episode, I think last night or the night before, and it was like everyone said, but if you remember what Chad said is you don't really know it until you watch it, and he was 100% right. I had this thought that, oh yeah, it's a bunch of fucking rednecks that have tigers, but it was a little more than that. It was crazier than that for sure, and I can see why it blew up. And I also think it came out and got popular at the most opportune time.
Absolutely. I think Netflix was sitting on this and they were like, okay, push it now. Everybody's at home, push it now.
Yep. And boy, did it blow up.
Oh, it sure did. It's still everywhere. Everybody's still talking about it. I mean, it's funny. The memes will last for a while, I'm sure. What a life. Joe Exotic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. 19% of the voters in Oklahoma voted for him to be their governor.
Good for them.
Not many people can say that.
No, that's true. That's true. And, he was the first openly gay man to run for president of the United States.
There you go.
He had that going for him, too. Wow.
Man.
Going from one sideshow to another, WWE WrestleMania is still on. They're still planning to host from an empty arena, I guess. We're going to have our top 10 WrestleMania countdown with Wallow from, I guess, at that point, what will be the McDojo show. I think that's right. McDojo Life, yep. McDojo show, yep. Something. I'll get it right one of these days, Wallow. I just started being able to say locker room talk fluently. Now I'm going to have to learn a whole new one.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I know, right? Ugh. Complicating my life. I'm sure he'll listen to that and be like, douchebag. But yeah, so we're going to do that top 10. And our good buddy Jose is going to join us for that one. So that one's going to be quite a bit of fun. We got that coming up. I think this weekend is when we're going to broadcast that one. So right before WrestleMania goes live, that'll be the kickoff show for that WrestleMania. Top 10 WrestleMania moments. At least there will be us here, whereas WrestleMania is going to be empty. They're marketing shirts that say "I wasn't there." WrestleMania 36. Yeah, it's pretty funny that they're capitalizing on it and selling those online. But
Vince McMahon ain't stupid.
No, he's gonna make his money somehow.
Damn.
Yep. And let's see. They have had to change the card though. I was just reading my notes. Several of the top talent that they have already backed out, like Roman Reigns and Rey Mysterio have backed out. So they've got to, I guess, refill those matches, and the show must go on. Vince's motto.
Wow. Did they back out just because of the coronavirus stuff?
Yeah, apparently one of the other wrestlers named The Miz showed up, and he had the virus or whatever, or had an unknown illness is what the source said. And he was sent home, but some of the other wrestlers, I guess, just were like, fuck this, I'm out. It ain't worth the payday.
Yeah, I mean, I guess depending on what your financial situation is, it might be a good idea to try to avoid this disease.
Yeah, it's crazy. One last thing that I've got, and then we can call it. We've been on here for a while. Chris Sale had his Tommy John today. So
that sucks.
Yeah. So the time starts now on that. So we're looking at maybe May, June of 2021 return for Chris. So
did you yeah, I think you did. You saw that post that someone on Sportzilla was talking about where I can't remember the dude's name, but it's a pitcher who is, as of yet, the last pitcher to be in the Hall of Fame with Tommy John.
You're talking about John. You're talking about John Smoltz. He's the only pitcher that has ever had Tommy John surgery that is in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. And he had an interesting career. He was a starter for the first part of his career, and he was dominant. He was on the Braves team in the late 80s and 90s whenever they were such a good team. He was part of that powerhouse trio of Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz. And he was great. Then he needed the Tommy John. He needed elbow surgery. So he went out, had the operation, came back as a closer. He could still throw hard, but only needed to throw for one inning at a time. So he ended up racking up 200 plus wins and over 150 plus saves.
Wow.
So he had a good career as a starter and then a back end guy. And a lot of these guys that come back off of Tommy John surgery, they still want to come into that starter role, and they can't humble themselves and become just a closer. I mean, John Smoltz is proof you can become a Hall of Famer doing both. Dennis Eckersley is another guy. He never had Tommy John, but he's another guy that had like 150, 200 plus wins and 150, 200 plus saves somewhere in there. Like he was just the same as Smoltz just didn't have a Tommy John surgery in between. So
Sure.
I think
that's a very smart move for a guy. If you can still throw and you have a bit of a compromised elbow or arm, why not move into the closer position? Your workload is way, way lower. That means your lifespan potentially in the big leagues grows higher, because once you get one Tommy John, the likelihood of you having another and another and another is exponentially higher. I mean, that's how that surgery works. It's not an end all be all surgery. So if you're a kid who has, potentially 10, 15 more years in your career, I don't know if you're going to be able to survive after a Tommy John. So I think that's a smart move. But like you said, ego kind of gets in the way and people want to still be the guy.
Yep.
And
that's
it hardly ever works.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Sale, he'll come back and he'll want to be the starter. He'll want to be the ace again. But it makes you wonder, how brilliant could it be to have him locked up in Boston for the next 3 years after this surgery and know that you have a dominant closer? What is that 2018 Red Sox World Series team ultimately remembered for? And that lasting image is Manny Machado striking out. And who was on the mound to close out that World Series? Christopher Allen Sale.
Yep. He could potentially be the next guy to do what Schmaltz did, have a great career as a starter, finish it off after Tommy John as a closer, and make it into the fucking Hall of Fame. I couldn't think of a better way to go out.
That would be a perfect scenario for a guy like Chris Sale. He's came in, he got his ring, he got his money, and now he can focus on the back half of his career coming back off of this surgery. Hopefully he's okay and doesn't relapse, have to have multiple surgeries, or if he comes back and in next May or whatever, he's only hitting 90, 92 with his fastball, then you've got a long-term problem with that guy. But we'll see. We'll see what the back half of Chris Sale's career looks like. I would love to see him come back and be that dominant closer. That would be pretty interesting to see it happen.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Anyway,
and that's what those kind of guys have as dominant starters. They have the ability to throw hard still, probably, but the control isn't there. The longevity isn't there. You can't go 7 innings anymore after your surgery or whatever. So go the 1 inning. I see no downside to that.
No, I don't either. One last thing that I've got to mention that I've completely forgot about until just this moment. The president of the United States called Alex Rodriguez for advice on how to handle the COVID situation. Now, I don't know the advice that A-Rod would give POTUS, but I don't think he's the type of guy that we should be listening to in a pandemic like this.
I can't imagine he has very much insight on something like this.
I mean, the only thing that I can get is Trump is thinking, well, he snagged J-Lo somehow, so he obviously has some answers. Let's see what he could possibly offer. Maybe that's why he listens to Kanye too. Who knows? But
valid point.
Anyway, that's all I got. Zach, you got anything else?
I'm good.
It's been fun having a 2-man booth. We'll see you next time. Hopefully Justin will be back with us. Till then, peace.
Thanks for listening. New episodes are recorded every week.